waiting for Baccarat, and that goes in! Hugo Baccarat gives Flint City a 3-2. Buckley, oh, the ball falls to Buckley. One-on-one with Etheridge. What a save!
Welcome into the first ever MSN All-State Media Day for girls soccer. Jonathan Turner alongside Dan Stickrat.
Ball comes in, a good head! 1-0! Shot, another save from Etheridge! Rebound, and it goes in the back of the net. The Bulldogs up 1-0! Burzma, but then for Vlasma! 3-0! Stewart Heights with a shot! Upper 90 and in!
Effectively today here on the Michigan Soccer Network, we are launching our new division of player recruitment videos.
Mario Canoe now finds Sock. Finds Sock's got a left-footed banger. He shoots it! It's in! The Red Hawks equalize! All right, I am joined now by the boys and girls head coach of Auburn Hills Oakland Christian, Mr. Patrick Reyes. Patrick, welcome to the Michigan Soccer Network.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thanks for having us. Always good to see you.
It's always good to see you as well. And hey, girls right now are on a roll, right? 5-0.
Yeah.
11th ranked in Division 4 in the top 15. And you got a big matchup coming up here tonight against St. Mary's, and St. Mary's has been a team on the rise. Keith Treffer's done a great job of getting that program, a new program, off the ground and running. And they've got some really good players. But hey, 5-0, you've done a really good job with the program since taking over here 6 years ago. Talk about this season. Talk about expectations.
So, I mean, I think this year, I think expectations were pretty high for us. We had a lot of, we lost some seniors last year, but we had some good talent coming back in. Some new girls that have come in and contributed very, very well. I think the biggest key for us too was, Jessica Reyes last year. She actually tore her ACL in our game last year against Orchard Lake St. Mary's, and has come back. So I think tonight she's excited for this game, just to kind of see what she could do to help make a difference. But I mean, beyond her, I mean, we have had a lot of other girls step up to, some freshmen last year that were some key contributors, like Rowan Klein, who has really stepped up her game and just have given us other options. And I think defensively, we're still growing in that area, but the girls that are playing back there right now are gelling very, very well and making a lot of improvements. So yeah, I mean, 5-0, it's a great record to have, but I think also too, I mean, we got to put it in a little bit of perspective too. I think some of the competition that we've played up to this point beyond Foley, are games that we expected to win.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, obviously, one of the, and this because obviously as a soccer coach, you can only play the team that's in front of you, right? And
exactly.
And obviously sometimes those teams that are in front of you, especially at the Division 4 level where, there's not as many players a lot of time. Obviously, for those of you who don't know, Division 4, all the schools are based, the divisions are based off of school size, right? So a lot of the schools in Division 4 have under 300 kids, under 400 kids in the overall school. So that just means that your talent pool just isn't as great as the nenext school right down the road the Rochester, because you are right in the middle of like Rochester Adams, Rochester High School, Stony Creek, Notre Dame Prep, Auburn,
Notre Dame Prep,
all those schools right there within, about 10 miles. They have much bigger populations as far as school size. So
definitely. I definitely agree with that. I mean, we get who we get, I mean, I don't have tryouts, girls come out, they want to play, you're on the team. We don't have a JV. But then at the same time, right, at the varsity level, who we get, the girls that are going to contribute are going to probably get the bulk of the playing time. And then I'll always look for opportunities to get everybody in, just because also too, I mean, it's the girls they want to have fun, and enjoy that high school experience. So I do what I can to try to balance it as best as I can from a competitive standpoint, but also too knowing that, these are just high school kids too, and they just want to have fun with their friends and represent their school.
It's one of those things too, and obviously we talk about 5-0, but you beat a good Bishop Foley team.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And obviously, Orchard Lake St. Mary's beat them last night 4-0.
4-0, yeah.
As well. So, and your Orchard Lake St. Mary's, we talk about how they're on the rise, but you know this, it's early in the year. The spring season is so different than that of the fall season, right? Where you get tryouts going. After tryouts, you have a grass field, and for those of you who've never been to Oakland Christian's field, it's at the bottom of a hill, right? And it's grass, right? It's a grass field. So
Yeah.
and there's not a lot of grass fields out there anymore here in
No.
Michigan at the high school level. So when it rains and it pours, what happens? Your games get canceled, right? You don't
Yep.
play on those field, and those. And have you had any games canceled this season at all?
Just one. Our first game, it was supposed to be our first game against Lutheran Westland, and it was a home game, and that one got canceled just because of we just got dumped on for I think 24 hours straight, so we had to move that one. But yeah, I mean, so far we've been, and that's why we've tried to adjust our schedule a little bit early on in the spring, where we just try to play more away games with schools that might have some turf fields or the ability to get turf fields. So that we can at least get our field in shape enough for the home stretch.
So as we talk about your schedule, we also have to talk about your record here as a coach for the girls side. You are 41, 22, and 4 in your six seasons. Obviously, there was a COVID year there where nothing happened, and I would assume we would got much of the same as far as your record is concerned. But last year you went 12 and 4 overall. Your best year with as the head of the program. What has been the recipe for your program to continue to have really successful seasons?
So I think for us, and we sort of talked about it, a little bit ago, with us being a Division IV school, and we talk about enrollment. Like our high school, I think is just over 200 kids. So you get who you get, and then every now and then you'll get a group of girls, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors that are club level players. So right now, currently, I'd say of my starting 11, 6 or 7 have club experience, and some have competitive club experience. So I have 3 girls that have played ECNL or ECNL RL, and then a couple other girls that have played in like National League. So I mean, I think that's where right now, if you look at the last probably 3-4 years, like it all started for me with Lisa really coming on board when she was a freshman. She contributed right away. And then after that, Jessica Reyes came on along with another girl, Taylor On, and Valeria Santerton. Like those 3 girls are all, good club players as well. And then the freshman class last year, sophomore class this year, got one girl that is just another weapon for us. So we've been very, very fortunate to have just a good group of girls that have played club, and then we have athletes that have come in as well too, and are able just to make those contributions where we need them. And we've been very, very fortunate. I think if you look over the last couple of years, like last year, we were able to go undefeated in conference. I would say right now the MIAC is starting to trend up a little bit. I would say like last year it was really just between us and Plymouth Christian. This year I would expect a lot of the same, but also at the same time, Roper tied Plymouth Christian last week, I think 0-0. So they're on the rise. Inner City Baptist is young, but they're up on the rise as well too. So I mean, our conference is, it's kind of all over the board, but at the same time, you could get beat at any time. You never know.
Yeah, and you guys play in the Michigan Independent Athletic Conference, I think it's the blue division of that association.
Well, no, we're all one. Yeah, we're all one conference now. So they put everybody. Yeah, they put everybody together. So we're just one conference now, at least on the girls side.
For sure. So, and that obviously consists of you, Plymouth Christian Academy, Bloomfield Hills Roper, Lutheran Westland, Rochester Hills Lutheran Northwest, Livonia Clarenceville, Allen Park Inner City Baptist, as you'd mentioned, Brighton, Sherrill, Stockwell Prep, and then Southfield Christian. So,
Correct, yeah.
those are. You've mentioned Jessica Reyes a couple of times now. Jessica is your daughter, correct?
She is.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I mean, you're talking about her obviously as a player, and I understand why you're head coach, and you want to try not to, but she's your daughter, and she's a very, very good player. I think it's okay for us to say that, and I apologize for letting the cat out of the bag on that one.
It's okay,
but it's to be fair, it's probably it's probably a blessing and a curse at the same time to have to coach your daughter at the varsity level, right? Because it's
Mhm.
here you have a great player who's on your team, but also she's
Yeah.
your daughter, so it's like, kind of
Mhm.
a little back and forth.
Yeah, there's a balance. So I mean, I mean, this is the second kid, no, actually third kid. So I've coached my older son Joshua for 4 years at Oakland Christian, and again, I was very fortunate. He was a very, very good player. So I mean, the whole father-son thing dynamic, at least for me, I felt like his play on the field spoke for itself. So I didn't really have any worries there. And then I'm coaching Jessica now, and then I'm coaching my youngest son, Luke, who's a freshman this year as well. So yeah, I've had to deal with it for the most of my career. Like the first 2 years that I was here, I didn't have any kids on the team, so it was nice just to kind of ease myself into it. But yeah, I mean, it's a balance. You got to make sure that you're not playing favorites so that you don't get accused of that. But then at the same time, you're probably harder on your own kids more than anything because you just have sort of a higher expectation on them and what they want to do. So yeah, it's fun though. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Just having the opportunity to spend as much time with my kids as I do, on the soccer field in a sport that we all love. I mean, I would never trade that for anything.
No, it's really cool. It's as I before you even mentioned that, I had this distinct feeling that every coach that I'm sure that has that scenario where they're coaching their son or daughter on the field have to hold them probably, and even internally, maybe not so much externally, but maybe definitely internally holding them to a higher standard because of what
Yeah.
that means, right? Um,
Yeah.
and but on the flip side of that, though, I mean, Oakland Christians, it's not unique to Oakland Christian, right? I mean, Wade Perriman coached his son Ben
Yeah.
Perriman. Ben Perriman, who's now the head coach at Memphis 901
Hmm.
out in USL Memphis out in Tennessee. I mean, so and I remember uh,
Hmm.
refereeing at Oakland University, and but dealing with both Ben Perriman and Wayne Perriman on the field as a managing those two guys, those two personalities was one of the harder things that I had to do as a referee in my early
Yeah.
20s. So I think Ben has definitely toned it down a little bit, but
I've heard,
but
I've heard, I've heard the stories. Yes, I've heard they were pretty animated at times. I think that's the polite way of putting it. And then, but they were very intense and they love the game. So, I mean, I, you deal with all of that. I think you
for
see so many different types of personalities in this game, and I mean, as you as a ref, I mean, you guys just you handle it.
That's right. That's right. So, okay, Patrick, we were talking about this before we got on this morning. Looking at your record and looking at, success, right? And a lot of times success is measured and
Yeah.
obviously externally, right? From the pundits,
Yeah.
from people like me and Dan, is championships, right?
Hmm.
We look at districts, we look at leagues, we look at all those things, and those are like measuring sticks for season success. It might not be the measuring stick that you as a coach might look at your team and say, hey, we didn't have a successful year because we didn't win this. But I do think that when you look at your goals every single season,
Hmm.
most coaches and teams say, hey, we want to go win a league title. We want to go ahead and get through districts and and see how far we can go along in the playoff run and ultimately maybe bring home that prize of a state
Hmm.
championship, right? That's the ultimate goal, the ultimate prize in soccer in Michigan. And over the last number of years, both on the boys and girls side, there is a team that's been in your way, and you guys have accomplished that. And
Yeah.
when I was at Groves, it was Berkeley. Berkeley was a team we
Yeah.
always saw in districts, no matter what we did. It was one of those battles. It was a rivalry. It was brutal, and we would
Yeah.
just find the most creative ways to lose games against Berkeley. I
Hmm.
say we would find creative ways to lose against Berkeley. But with that being said, Clarkston Everest has been a thorn in your side when it comes to districts at least the last 6 years
Yeah.
for you. I mean, last year, the year before that, the year before that, there was obviously no season the year before that, and then the year before that. So they've been that thorn. So,
Yeah.
obviously not to pour salt on the wound. How do you guys manage that as a team, knowing that, hey, you're going to face Clarkston probably again this season in that exact same.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I first off, I will say I have the utmost respect for Rich Cross. I mean, he's a great coach, and I've gotten to know him very, very well over the course of my time there on both on the girls' side. So I everything that he's done, he's deserved. I mean, he's a great coach and he's able to coach his girls up. I think for us, it's just they were just the better team. Like even in regular season, we've struggled to kind of find our way against them. Like last year, we played them in our first game of the regular season, and we lost 2-1. So it's just one of those things. Like in that particular match, they've beaten us. They've been the better team. They've had more talent. And as you and I kind of talked earlier, like last year especially, I mean, the run that Rich got his girls on, in the postseason all the way to the state finals. I mean, that was such an impressive thing just for me to watch, and I was just really happy for him just because I know him on a personal level.
No, he's a great coach. I mean, last year, as you mentioned, we talked about this in regards to Grosse Pointe North. Grosse Pointe North is a team that going into the playoffs were 4-7-7, right? And they ended up winning the whole thing. And we use the word unorthodox a lot in regards to that run because typically teams that are going on and competing for a state title typically have a successful league, regular season. And it's just a continuation of that successful season. And not saying that being 4-7-7 is not in its own right successful, because every game that they were in, they didn't lose. But looking at Clarkson, they were 7-8-1 last year overall, right?
Yeah.
And again, they're playing in a tough Catholic League, schedule where you're playing 2 games at home and away in those environments, and so you don't get a ton of non-league action in the Catholic League. And then you obviously have the tournament, so it makes things more difficult to in some moments to be able to have better records than maybe other schools. But you're right, and I think Rich is a great coach. I think he's an even better human being from my just being with him
100%.
on a personal level. So a really, really great guy. But it's one of those things. I'm going to use that line from like Herb Brooks from 1980, 82, the Olympics, right? When they wanted to beat it again. You play them 9 times, they might, or 10 times, they might beat you 9. You just got to get 1.
Just need 1.
You just need the 1, right? You don't need to beat him 11 times. You just need to beat him 1 time, Patrick, and get your way, even further. Because to be fair, getting out of that district, probably the hardest thing. And then from there, like a lot of other districts in the state, you get to regionals, man, that just opens everything up.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I will tell you, like my first year on the boys' side, I mean, nobody expected anything out of us. And then we ended up getting into the district final, and we played Mark Soma and Shrine, beat them in a shootout. So we won that district in 17. And then, like you said, regionals was, it's anybody's game. We ended up getting to the regional final. And if it wasn't for, we played Genesee Christian that year, and if it wasn't for just this amazing shot by one of Doug's players, like probably 20-25 yards out in the upper 90, I mean, that would have gone into overtime, and who knows where that would have been. So yeah, I completely agree with you. The state tournament, if you can get out of your district, anything can happen.
Because they can be so brutal. I mean, we talk about the Division I districts all the time, and how the Rochester, Eisenhower, Romeo district is a district of death. You've got Troy Ath. Like you start to, on the west side of the state, there are some difficult districts. Don't get me wrong, but it's like again, sometimes you look at some of these programs where they're coming out of what I would consider to be a very easy district. And then they get in the regionals, and sometimes it's just like there's a wallop that takes place. That's where you start to see some sided victories once you get in the regionals, because the districts were just so much easier than other locations. So, and that's also, I think, another thing too, when you start talking about how brutal districts can be. Well, if you get out of them unscathed, and and you're healthy, that's great, because you just played 3 really difficult games to get to regionals. And hopefully being rested. And I do like the fact that the state has changed districts. It used to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Right now it's, hey, you start off on a Wednesday, you've got a breather, next week, and you go again Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, whatever that is. And it's a much easier, I think, district setup now than it's been in the past.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the spring season too, because everything is so compacted. So like I'm rolling through this season, probably 3-4 straight weeks where I got 3 games in a week. So, at that point, you're just like, okay, what can I do, in training to at least still coach, but then at the same time, give the girls a chance to recover. So yeah, I mean, and I think the other thing that sort of popped into my head too, as far as preparing for the state tournament too, and when your conference is down a little bit, I would say like ours is. That's why I schedule such a tough non-conference schedule, right? So you have Orchard Lake St. Mary's, who was a Division II school. We had a preseason game against Notre Dame Prep. We'll play Everest just to prep for districts, but I've got Shrine on the calendar. I've got Liggett on the calendar. We scheduled Foley. So I mean, those are the games that we're really looking forward to, just to kind of help us really prepare for what we want to do and the goals that we have set for ourselves for this upcoming season.
Yeah, actually, yeah, faced off against Royal Oak Shrine at home on May the 11th. So, very
correct. Yep.
Obviously, Growth Point Woods University Liggett, you bet yet on May 22nd. So that's going to be a good game as well. And
yeah,
they're currently, I think, ranked number 2 in the state, right?
Yep.
And they obviously got a great coach there in David DeWahey. So
yeah, very good friend of mine. So
yeah. So I mean, Patrick, I got 2 final questions.
Sure.
We'll get you out of here, right? So the first question is in today's world with how busy everything is and how busy players, and it's so much different than when I was. I'm not saying it's different in the sense that I wasn't busy growing up, or my family wasn't busy, but I feel like in today's world, being busy is so much different than it was 25 years ago. But with that being said, does your team have time to do a lot of team building things, where you're having team dinners before every game, or is that more of like hey, once in a while?
So I think for us, that's my experience, is when I can get the girls together, not doing soccer stuff, that helps tremendously on the field. So we try to bake it into whatever programming that we already have on the schedule. So like we'll have team dinners once a week. That's just mandatory. Team dinners once a week. So I'll end practice, if we have a 2-hour block, I'll end an hour early so that we all can go in and have dinner together. So that's once a week that we absolutely do that. At somebody's house, we've had that like as a preseason thing. So, but yeah, I think that's it, because we spend so much time together as it is. And again, for this season, the last couple of seasons, I've been very, very fortunate. All the girls get along very, very well together. So.
Okay. And my final question is, we like to talk about food here on the network. It's just
okay.
Something we love to do. We love to know what your favorite food is. Like I always say, if it was your last day on earth, and you had to think of the final meal that you'd want, what would that meal be?
So that's a tough one, because I love food myself. If you kind of go, so like our team dinner this week, we had a mom just make some Mediterranean food. Like that's one of my always go-tos. But then there's a lot of Filipino dishes too that I love from growing up that kind of would be really exciting to eat. So like there's a lot of just like steaks and porks and that kind of stuff. So I don't know if I had to pick one, oh gosh. So it would be this Filipino dish that I make, that it's like steak and onions and soy sauce, and you eat it with rice, and it's just something that I've always loved growing up. And that's kind of what I would want. So how's that?
That's perfect. Hey, everybody has their own take on what that would be, right? And so,
for sure,
it's unique, and I think that's what makes that question great. Because I'm a firm believer. That's why I asked about the team dinner thing, is because I'm a firm believer that. Because I remember in college, when my first essays I had to write, or papers I had to write, was think of gatherings, family gatherings, and write a report or a story about family gatherings. And I said, one thing that's constant in life, regardless of what the moment is food.
Mm-hmm.
It's the 100%. Most constant thing, right? You think about your births, you think about death, you think about graduations and weddings. What are we all talking about? We're talking about food, right?
Food.
So
brings everybody together.
It brings everybody together. It's the one constant that I think that you can find at every party. Every party, there's a snack.
Yep.
And if it's not, they're terrible hosts, so don't go back. Don't go back. There's no food, right? So, but Patrick, man, thank you very much. Great Oakland Christian on a roll here, 5-0, number 11th ranked team in the state. They were unranked last week, made their way in this week, and they're taking a very good Orchard Lake St. Mary's team here tonight. So check that out. And Patrick, man, we wish you luck the rest of the way.